it in 2D. No, let's go watch it in 3D. But if we watch it in 3D, then is it worth the cost?
Well, come on! We are going to the internet!
Wow, look at all this stuff. Ralph breaks the internet.
Hello. This is Adolf Vega, and today I am with Jake Jarvis. Howdy, folks. We're recording to you on Black Friday, and we are recording for Wreck-It Ralph 2. Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2. Oh, bad title, but neither here nor there. Let's talk about the movie itself. Now, let's talk about the 3D element. I went to go see this, and I went to go see an early screening, and it was in 2D only, unfortunately. So I did not have the pleasure of watching this movie in 3D. Jake, you did. Tell me all about it.
Okay, well, like most animated 3D movies, they had the opportunity to do really great 3D. They kind of dropped the ball on it, unfortunately. Not to say what they had didn't look nice. It's very good. I recommend it if you are really into Toons, Wreck-It Ralph, or 3D animation in 3D. But they just dropped. The biggest ball they dropped was when they were doing pop-ups, which anybody who's been on the internet for any length of time has been hit by a tornado once or twice. Now, this being a Disney film, I did not expect a tornado. But it would have been nice to use 3D to actually demonstrate pop-up. It was just dying to be, and they didn't do it once. They just made pop-ups. It was a kind of a carny street vendors holding up signs in the movies.
Pop-ups are a legitimate part of the movie story. So we're not going to get that into it, but it could have, done that. Now, when I watched it, there was a very early scene with the football. I imagine that scene being really nice in 3D. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, there were a couple of moments like that, but they're so few and far between. And Slaughter Race, they really should have framed a lot of the racing scenes more to put more in-your-face action and stuff. This had even less inner 3D stuff than the first one. It's not bad. I just expected more. And I just wasn't going to hand a great thing just because it's animated 3D. Because I thought The Grinch had better 3D than this, and I didn't give it a grade either.
Now, what about the princesses? How did they look in 3D?
Okay, they looked nice. In fact, they took a lot of the comments people had about some of the features of some of the ethnic princesses and made them look less white, because that was one of the complaints people had of that they had made Jasmine look too gay and stuff. And some of the other ones just look just too generic and cookie cutter. I don't want a Wreck-It Ralph 3 movie. I want a Disney princesses movie by the people that did this movie. That was the highlight of the whole movie, was that big scene with the princesses. That was awesome.
Now, is there any other examples you want to talk about the 3D that you liked or didn't like?
Okay, it's neither here nor there. It's just, it doesn't really stick out. It's there, but I don't think you would get, if you saw this in 2D, you're basically getting the same movie. There's no enhanced value in the 3D.
So what would you give it as a verdict? It sounds like you liked it overall.
I would give it a good 3D.
Okay.
Very good 3D. Yeah, if you're a Toon head, you really like 3D, go see this in 3D. If you don't really care, Don't waste the money. Save it for Harry Potter. You've got to see that in 3D. The new Fantastic Beasts. You know, that was great 3D.
This podcast is brought to you by 3D Wiggle. With 3D Wiggle software, you can impress your family and friends with 3D GIFs and videos. To find out more information, please click on the link in the description for 20% off coupon as well. This podcast is also brought to you by Patreon. With Patreon, you can become a patron and get this podcast commercial-free and get many more benefits. Please click on the description again to get more information. Now, back to the show.
Okay. So let's go on to the movie itself. Since I did see this, this is a hard movie to review. Okay, so Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2 is the official title, which I hate, by the way. It's a strange but familiar movie. It continues the story from the original Wreck-It Ralph movie, but also serves as like a meta-commentary on internet pop culture. Now, it's set 6 years after the events of the first movie, and it's actually, you know, this movie came out 6 years afterwards, too. Yeah. The original Wreck-It Ralph is kind of like a Toy Story for video games, where, you know, all the video game characters live in their arcade units in a arcade, and once the, you know, all the store closes down, they get to do whatever they want to do and just hang out and have their adventures. And, you know, this continues that story with Ralph and Vanellope being the two main characters coming back. I mean, there's quite a few of them that come back, but not as many as I would thought. And not one major character, which everyone was wondering about in the first one, and everyone was thinking it will be in the second one, and is not. Which I'm kind of stunned that they didn't include the character. Do we mention him, or just not say because it's, you know, obvious who we're talking about with the video game characters?
Say.
All right, it's kind of a spoiler, but Mario's not in this, and I think that's really stunning. That if anything, Bowser was in the first one more than I was thinking he would, and now this is like completely devoid of Nintendo characters. It's really out there.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what's going on with Nintendo and Disney.
I know they have a deal with Universal and Illumination like the Mario movie, but I mean, why would they not? Would they actively get him not in this movie at all? You know?
It sounds like that's what went down. Oh, did you catch some of the really sly? I mean, this movie, I had to keep pinching myself to believe this was actually a Disney movie because the snark was on tough. I mean, damn, I thought this movie was written by Wendy's Twitter feed. I mean, some of the scenes were on fire with the snark. One of my favorite bits of snark was during the Disney princess scene when Penelope is introducing the princesses to comfortable clothing. You see the bat, you hear the bat, da-da-da-da music, and the spinning thing from the 60s TV show. See, Fox had a deal with Batman on television like Universal has with the Hulk and Namor. And now that Disney owns Fox, it's theirs now. And they just put Warner Brothers on notice. It was hysterical.
Now,
the way they did it.
Let's get back to the plot of this movie. So there's like a scene where, you know, Vanellope is trying to, I guess, is getting bored with your scenario, and, you know, which is understandable. And Ralph goes in there and plays with things, and then, which causes an issue with the game malfunctioning and causing it to break. And now she has an existential crisis where the units arcade unit that she lives in may not function anymore, so they have to find a solution, which eventually leads them to go out on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the existential crisis they mentioned is actually really interesting. They kind of started talking about this in the first Wreck-It Ralph movie, but they kind of just dropped it and moved on. And they kind of did that. They kind of did it to a degree, but they got a little more into it, you know. Because there's a lot of ramifications of what happens to video game characters if their arcade machine goes away, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they basically become homeless, which they don't really explain other than you assume they kind of live in the arcade space with Qbert.
So, yeah, they go on the internet, and then they have to find something to be able to fix it. And then the movie is pretty fast-paced, and the story itself feels kind of like a rehash of the original movie, but switched up where Vanellope is the one having the crisis instead of Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the premise of the movie actually dealt with fairly quickly, and the real meat of the movie is the second half, where it goes into some bizarre stuff.
Yeah, Ralph has a real toxic reaction to Penelope wanting to do something other than run around in Sugar Rush, which is was a great representation of toxic fandom. And how much do I spoil, or just how many spoilers for the? Okay, Ralph gets himself a virus to let loose, and we find out, yeah, Ralph wrecks the internet because it goes through the internet, this virus.
Yeah,
toxicity.
So, yeah, it gets into a lot of meta jokes too, and a lot of fourth wall breaking, and like they don't care about the rules they establish. Now, that's where it kind of lost me, because it seems like all the rules they established in the first movie are just thrown out the window. And I have a problem with that, because the rules that they were establishing made some kind of sense, and now they could do whatever they want with the plot. And that's where it's like, hey, wait a minute here. You could do anything, and there's no... It just kind of goes into a wacky area where it's kind of... I can't suspend my disbelief enough. It's just getting too out there for me. I don't want to spoil things further, but do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, they got into a little psychiatry, because Ralph was supposed to represent toxic fandom. I mean, that's how I took it. And they were kind of going out there with a few, I wouldn't say exactly Jungian, but they were headed in that area. Because with having that the virus spreads by insecurity and anxiety, was interesting. But I was bothered, but I wasn't that bothered by some of the changes in canon, because the internet is a much different space than the arcade. If anything, I was laughing. I was like, how similar to Tron this is in the strangest ways.
Now, the strengths of this movie really are pretty nice. The humor was top-notch, really, and the heart in this movie really touched me, and I almost wanted to cry in one scene. You know what I'm talking about. And the emotional core is perfectly balanced. And, the laughs come often, the jokes really fit. I do wonder if some of the roasting of contemporary internet pop culture, if that will be make sense in the future. But for
probably
now,
not.
Works.
Yeah, we're going to have to explain this in 10 years to people. But some of the jokes were subtle. Like, I really loved the way Disney took a rip at Pixar about Brave. When they had, everybody was, what'd you say? And they're like, we don't understand her either. I about fell out of my chair.
Yeah, unlike the Emoji Movie, it knows how to do pop culture references without stopping the film to a halt and being like an advertisement. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is like the anti-Emoji Movie.
The voice acting was great, and the emotional element really worked. In some ways, I feel like this movie is like pandering to me because I'm a gamer. I love the internet culture, or not love it, but I feel comfortable in it, and I'm a movie fan, so it has everything there for me. Now, it may make me more critical to it because I get all the things, where some casual moviegoers may totally not get some of the things. Now, overall, I liked it, and I was just frustrated by all the things, the rules they broke in this. My final verdict is that I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. What do you think?
7. Same.
Okay.
Because my 7 is basically, I thought it was really good. I'll watch it again, but you have some serious flaws that just keep me from making it great.
Okay. So,
and that's kind of how I felt about this movie.
I guess we're in agreement here. So that's going to be it for the spoiler-free podcast. We're going to have to really go into it with the spoiler one because it is really, really hard to talk about this movie without massive spoilers because the second half of this movie feels like a different movie from the first.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some really out there stuff that I'm dying to talk about. So, this is the end of this podcast, but to be continued for more. If you want more and good spoilers, then listen to the spoiler one because we're going to go into it. So that's it for now.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, before this podcast ends, I want to give a thank you to my patrons. Right now, we have one patron, which is David from Spain, and I want to thank you for your financial support. All right, so that's going to be it for this podcast.
We now have a Patreon, and the link is in the description. Thanks for watching.
And we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a little bit everywhere. Just look for us 3D or 2D. And of course, review us on iTunes. And if you want to write us a letter, our email address is email3dortwo2d@gmail.com. So that's going to be it. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, everyone.